All right. We are going to do a demo over kind of using the curvature tool and making different shapes. I have an artboard kind of already set up and ready for that. If you do not remember how to make an artboard, you can go over here to this blue button and hit new file. You have custom options, which is great. You do not, you hit print. And then you can set up what we talked about as a friendly reminder. We want this to be inches here. We want it to be 8.5 by 11 in landscape, RGB, and high pixels per inch in default mode. And once that's all set up, you can go ahead and hit create. I'm going to open up the guy that I have ready here, so that way you can kind of see what we're doing. So I'm teaching you guys how to make some different shapes without actually going over here to our little shape section, or even using our shape builder tool to hook shapes together or delete shapes to make new shapes. We're going to use something called the curvature tool, which on mine is the fourth one down. It is this little, looks just like the pin tool, but it has like a little squiggle on it. Click on that guy. We'll zoom in here for you. Maybe zoom out a little bit. Okay. The first thing that we're going to do together is we're going to make a palette. We're just working on the outline. So we'll start with this circle here. We're basically going to treat it like a compass, where you are north, south, east, and west. So we're going to click north, south, east, west. It's important that the path or the anchor that we made first is where we end at. So we want our path here to join up with that first point. If your fill is on, go ahead and turn that off there. And just make sure that your stroke is on. I'm going to make mine white so you can see it. So now you should have a pretty good circle here. It may not be perfect, but that's okay. Now we're going to try to make this shape here. I'm just going to click above my circle, kind of the distance that I want to make it, laying that first anchor down. I'm going to come out a little ways, lay another one down, and you'll notice that blue line that starts to pop up. It's just kind of showing you where your curve is heading, what it's going to look like. I'm just giving you a little bit more guidance there. The point that you are laying down is always going to be the peak of that curve. So my curve is based off that point. It's like the tallest point of that curve. It will be the roundest point. So that little anchor that you land every time is just letting Illustrator know that is where I want my curve to go around and start bending. We'll keep going here, dropping a few points. Just working on kind of trying to make that shape a little bit. Start to bend back up. I'll make one here and return back to that first point. So you might be looking at your palette thinking, oh my gosh, it doesn't even look like that one. It doesn't even look like that one. That's okay. We can make adjustments here using our pin tool. Every anchor that you laid down, you can go back in and click on it. You can move it around like that. You can actually move it on the path. I can pull it all the way over to this anchor, pull all the way over this one. I can move it to wherever I would like. Bring it down here. You can add an anchor, so I can click in the path and add another one. Move it around. The more that you add, the wigglier, kind of weirder it starts to get, just because there's so many anchors that Illustrator is trying to line that path up with. So the fewer you have, the smoother it will be. You can also go back in and make fine adjustments with your white arrow. We can click on the anchor and these little handlebars will pop out, kind of like a bike. You can toggle them and they will move. If I pull it out, it starts to flatten that curve out. I move it back in, it becomes rounder again. So that is an option too. I like using my curvature tool here to just continue messing around and moving that shape a little bit. So that is what I'm going to use, but you can use both, whichever one you find to be easier. So let's see if I can move this guy up a little bit. Move this guy. Let's actually just, and you can delete points too. So I can click on one, on this guy, because I'm gonna delete it anyways, and then hit backspace. Boom, he's gone. Just add him right back in if I want him right back in. So just mess around with that for a second. Just start messing around with that shape a little bit, trying to get it look more like the palette that you want. And it doesn't have to be perfect to mine, you know, artist palette looks different for everybody. I'm gonna move this circle over using my black arrow. Start to line it up a little bit. Go back over to my pen tool here. Move some things in. Maybe I should bring another point in here. That guy out. This guy up a little bit. That's pretty good. Once you get it to the point where you're happy with it, we can scale it down, make it bigger, whatever you would like. Just select all of it, scale it, but make sure you hit your shift key to kind of keep it that nice shape that we've made here. We don't want it to get too wonky. The next thing we're gonna make here is kind of this little funnel shape. And yes, we're gonna use our curvature tool, this guy right here, the pin with the squiggly. You might be thinking, how am I gonna do that? It's a curvature tool and we just made a bunch of round edges. Well, you can make straight edges with the curvature tool, which is really great if you're gonna end up combining some. So what we need to do is we need to tell Illustrator that we want our line or curved area to be straight. So we're gonna double click on the anchor and come out a little ways, double click, and now it is straight. We have told Illustrator that we want it to be straight just by double clicking. Click down here. You'll notice I forgot to double click, so it's starting to do that little rounded edge. Don't worry, don't fret. We can just come back into that point and double click, and now it's straight again. I'm just gonna keep double clicking here. Make a rough shape of my funnel here, and I want to end my point where I started. And then again, you can go back in and make some fine adjustments. Pull these guys up a little bit. Pull this guy up. This guy up. Move these guys in. Bring it out. Move this guy up. There. Now you have it kind of where you like it. I was going to show you that you also have corner options on shapes that you make here, which is kind of fun. You can round things out really nicely, which is kind of what I did with this one up here. You can bring it in so far to where it doesn't even look like that anymore. It's a little bit crazy. So you always have some other corner options anytime there's like a sharp edge, which is nice. Now we're going to combine the two things that we just did, making a curved edge and a straight edge, making this little flame here. I'm going to grab that curvature tool again. I'm going to double click to tell Illustrator that I want this to be a straight path. And I'm going to kind of come out here and click once. So my next one is curved. Click once, that one's curved. Once, curved. Just keep going until I make that shape, landing back where I started. And then we could copy this and paste it and put it back in here. I'm going to show you how to reflect in the next video. But I just want to have good practice with the curvature tool. So we'll make another little guy in here. We double click, tell the anchor that we want it to be that corner straight edge. Once, click once, 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 and back to where we started. I can go in with my pen tool here, making some fine adjustments, rounding some things out, moving some pieces, just making it how I would like it to look. Click on this guy, I can do the same thing here. There you go, you made a little flame. Now the next thing that I want us to make together is kind of like this little profile picture of this person. Just a little tiny person, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. We're going to start again by making the circle here, similar to how we did with our palette. Grab our curvature tool, make our little compass shape. Boom. You'll notice that when you try to, let me exit out of this for a second. Go back in to start making the neck and the shoulders and stuff. We want our path to line up with our head here, so we click to lay an anchor, and we click again. It does not draw that line. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it has something to do with Illustrator wanting to keep these paths separate. Doesn't read them as a shape together. So what we're going to do here is take our black arrow, select our circle here, our head. We're going to go to Object and scroll down to Lock and over to Selection. That just means that we're locking what is selected. So our little circle or head here was selected, and now it's locked and we can't do anything with it. Really similar to when we lock a layer, we can't do anything with that layer while it is locked. So now we should be able to go over to our toolbar and grab our curvature tool. I'm going to click a little bit above the path, just so that way I know that it's going to cross through here. Remember to double click because you want it to be straight. Double click, bring that out a little ways, double click. I'm going to single click here because I want it to start to curve. Single click. Actually, I'm going to double click. Double click, pull it all the way over. This looks good. Double click, single, double, 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 and return back to that initial point there. Mine looks a little wonky right now. That's okay. We can go back in and clean it up. First, I want to draw this bottom portion. So we need to do the same thing. We're going to select it, Object, Lock, Selection. So now he is locked. Go back over to our toolbar, grab our pen tool here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Double click, click once, double click once, double click, and return back to that main point. So this looks really wonky. That is okay. Let's zoom in here. We can clean it up. We can't yet because it's locked, so we'll go back up here to Object and hit Unlock All. So now everything down here is unlocked again. I'm going to go in with my pen tool and kind of fix up some of these lines here. I'm going to straighten that guy out, straighten this guy out, bring that guy in. Just start making some fine adjustments here. I can click down here, kind of clean this up a little bit, bring that guy out, in. This looks a little wonky over here. What the heck? There. Okay, so once you kind of get it to where you like it, we can move things around. Can move his head down. Can move this guy over. Oh, see, I'm a double clicker right into isolation mode. Move him up a little bit. Over. And now I want to go back in and delete these portions, so that way it looks more like this guy. Zoom back out so you can see him. So I'm going to use my magic shape builder tool that we talked about. Select all these pieces. Go over here to my shape builder tool, which is the 2 targets and the arrow. Click on it. Hold down on Alt to change my plus to a minus. And just click on those lines. And there. Now you have that little person, that little icon there. Now I want you to practice by making these next 2 shapes here. We have a little pencil and then a paintbrush. Keep in mind that when you're making your pencil, you'll need to do the locking and the unlocking, just like we did with this guy. It's got a couple different parts. So you'll make the eraser end, lock it, make the body, lock it, and then make the front of the pencil and lock it. And you can unlock all of them. Over here with our paintbrush, use your little compass trick to make a nice circle. Double click just like we did up here with our flame to make that a nice corner. Make it around here. And then work on making this shape here. We have straight here, some harsh corners, and then it bends in. So you're gonna have to make a few points to have it bend in, and then come back out to these corners, which will be double clicked. And then after you have all these shapes made here, I just want you to go back in and start practicing filling in colors, you know. So you select, go to fill, pick a color, turn off the stroke. You may lose your circle in the process. It's okay, we can get it back. Move that guy to the front using arrange, bring to front. Pull it back over here. Use my eyedropper tool to make it the same color as the background. So go through and start filling things in, taking the stroke off. Practice using your eyedropper tool to grab a color if you have one that is already on the screen. And then after you start putting down basic colors here, go back in with your shape builder tool and add some highlights and lowlights. Give it some dimension, you know, don't leave it just this flat color here. And if you forget how to do that, there's a whole video up with that last video on our penguin. You can copy and paste something, Control-C, Control-V, which is super handy, and make a little shadow or highlight here, and select both using our magic shift key, maybe. There we go. And then you can pick a color after you go into your shape builder tool here and add a highlight to what you would like. So just practice doing that stuff, you know, add a few different lowlights, add a few different highlights, add a couple extra things. You know, I just went in with my curvature tool here and made little messy paint splotches, you know, add some drips to your paintbrush here. Maybe add a little squiggles underneath your pencil that you're drawing. You could add some more details to your figure here. Get crazy with it. Have fun. So yeah, make these 2 shapes here, practice that curvature tool, practice filling in color, and practice using your shape builder tool to give your shape some dimension, a little bit of life there. This looks way more interesting than just these 2 colors here. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask.